My name is Terry Ellis. I'm an independent audio reviewer from the YouTube channel and website Pursuit of Perfect System. Elite Audio UK have asked me to take a look at what some people might consider to be the baby power amplifier from the Norwegian high-end hi-fi manufacturer Electrocompaniet. But let me reassure you, there is nothing baby-like about the AW250R. Power amplifiers are probably one of the hardest things to review because they are essentially simple units. We turn them on and they just do their thing. And unless there's some crazy nice VU meters on the front, then it's difficult to get lots of interesting video angles and B-roll. At least with the AW250R, we have that lovely Electrocompaniet faceplate. And not having much to be excited about on the outside doesn't mean there's not lots to be excited about on the inside. Before we move on, I want to talk about build quality, because in this particular instance, the phrase built like a tank really springs to mind. That is because when the amplifier arrived, I noticed a strange protrusion in the top plate, which is very obviously not what I expected. What must have happened is the courier or the logistics company must have just massively mistreated the package on its way to me to apply enough pressure or force to push this very thick top plate down enough in order to cause this protrusion on the top through all the foam packaging that the amplifier comes in. And you know what? That is real life, isn't it? Logistics companies and courier companies and can make mistakes and just shit can happen. So I thought before I spoke to Elite Audio to ask them to change this for a different unit, I would just test it just to see if it was still working, and it's been working absolutely perfectly and sounding pretty damn immense. So I thought, well, it makes sense to just continue with the review. Please ignore this because it's just not something that you're ever likely to see. It's just one of those one-off random coincidences. And the AW250R is a dual mono stereo class AB power amplifier that delivers 250 watts per channel into 8 ohms, 380 watts per channel into 4 ohms, and 625 watts into 2 ohms, and you can run it bridged mono for up to 4 times that power. The amplifier has two 650 VA toroidal transformers using FTT or floating transformer technology. Electrocompaniet say that helps power supply deliver twice the current, and the amplifier uses 120,000 microfarads of capacitance. That is all packaged into a big amplifier. It's normalish size for overall footprint, but it's a tall amplifier and a heavy one at nearly 40 kilograms, and the amplifier is raised up on some isolation type feet, I think to help with ventilation, and there is a lot of ventilation on the top. I didn't really notice the room warming up too much or a massive amount of heat coming off of the AW250R, which is interesting. Don't get me wrong, it definitely got warm, and I would definitely say you want to give it plenty of space for ventilation, but it didn't generate as much heat as I was expecting, or as much kind of feel the room heat as other amplifiers definitely would at this time of year. On the rear is the usual set of connections you would expect, or is it? There are 2 sets of speaker cable outputs, which you don't see all the time, which could be a nice addition for some audiophiles, but there is also something missing. No single-ended RCA connections, only balanced. Yes, the AW250R is a balanced amplifier, but you'll also need to feed it a balanced signal. In real-world hi-fi situations, when do you ever think you would need maybe 250 watts of power, 8 ohms, or 380 watts of power at 4 ohms? And for this review, I was using the Audiophysic Avanti 35 speakers that are 4 ohm speakers rated to 180 watts. So on paper, we have twice the available power here with the AW250R than the Avanti 35 speakers are rated. So surely that means we can't use a lot of this power, and we're just going to really be wasting a lot of it. Why would you have all of this amplifier power? Well, the first thing I noticed was headroom. And by that I mean I was able to just ask more and more and more of the amplifier by turning the volume up more and more and more. And its sound, its composure, the overall kind of character of the amplifier stayed exactly the same. At no point did any tension or hardness be introduced. At no point did I feel like the amplifier was kind of hitting its ceiling limit or running out of puff. And I probably felt like I was on the limit of the speakers much more than the limit of the amplifier. So that means I feel like the amplifier is probably, or definitely sounds like, it's always working well within its limits. Like it's been over specified so that it can kind of work well below its kind of full capability limit, which probably helps with keeping distortion down and definitely helps with keeping the sound nice and graceful and composed, and yeah, as I say, never stepping over that point. Like with a lot of amplifiers, I'm sure you've experienced it, there's normally a ceiling limit, but with a big power amplifier like this, I couldn't find that limit with the setup that I have here. And I think the second thing I noticed was the sound scale and bass. The Avanti 35 have a passive subwoofer built into them, and with another powerful amplifier that I have here, they sounded like speakers of their modest size. However, off the AW250R, they sounded like much larger, more accomplished speakers. And I think that's just because they were being driven so well, and I think I was definitely getting more out of that built-in passive subwoofer. So I feel very differently about this whole situation now. I'm no longer questioning why we would need this much power within an amplifier in a real world domestic situation. I'm actually looking at it completely the other way around. I'm now questioning how can we listen without this much power in an amplifier because of the very obvious actually sonic benefits of it. And this is a very impressive and just a nice sounding amplifier to listen to, large in part because it's effortless in its delivery, but it also presents music in a big and full and tonally saturated way. It's a very gratifying amplifier to listen to in all facets: treble, vocals, and bass. And it's hard to pick one of those out as being the standout characteristic or the star of the show, but I particularly like bass, and therefore I would say the bass capability of the AW250R is really very impressive for being big in scale, tight and in control, but very nice and rounded, totally pleasing and gratifying, even for someone like me who's very critical in this particular area. And other amplifiers will sound sharper and crisper. The AW250R is more easygoing with its delivery. I think they have designed it to be more of a musical sounding amplifier rather than an overly honest one, which is definitely something to bear in mind for system or preamplifier matching. The sound just sits really nicely in that sweet spot, delivering in lots of important key areas without being too left or maybe right winged. And what's interesting is I would say its sound is kind of like a combination of maybe a Luxman and a Macintosh, which is a very nice place to be. The kind of tonally satisfying, richer, more musically pleasing and engaging sound of a Luxman, but with a bit more of the soundstage capability of a Macintosh, but probably not as dry. And it's really hard to think of any negatives or major criticisms here, outside of maybe it being a very large amplifier, a heavy amplifier, and being mindful and paying attention to maybe ventilation requirements. And one thing that I did notice was I was maybe getting slightly more transformer hum from the AW250R compared to some other amplifiers that I've had in for review recently, but not a massive amount more, just a small amount more. I'm kind of, nitpicking at this point. And to me, the Electrocompaniet AW250R is a power amplifier that when you put it into your system and listen to it, you are not going to want to take it out. And that is not because it's back pain heavy, but because it makes music just that bit more special to listen to. And I definitely don't want to give this one back. This one could quite happily stay here with me. And on that note, if you're interested in finding out more information, or if you'd like to book or arrange a demo to hear the AW250R for yourself, then I'll definitely suggest speaking to the team over at Elite Audio UK, because they'll be able to more than look after you. And just on that point, this has been part of a progressive review where I've looked at 3 different individual products: the Audiophysic Avanti 35 speakers, the Metrum Acoustics Adagio, DAC and preamplifier. All 3 products are from Elite Audio UK, and I found all 3 products to work fantastically well together, so you might be interested to arrange a demo of all 3 units. If you've enjoyed this review, make sure you hit the thumbs up button, and if you'd like to see more, obviously subscribe to the Elite Audio UK YouTube channel. If you'd like to see more in-depth and other technical type reviews and more, maybe come on over and see me at Pursuit of Perfect Systems YouTube channel. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.